President Muhammadu Buhari promises care to release Chibok girls before departing to London for medical checkup, just as commendations follow release of 82 Chibok girls. Plus, federal government to strengthen the disease response mechanism to prevent the outbreak of epidemics. Zammo Panorama, I'm Ogechipol, and you're welcome. Our first report says President Muhammadu Buhari has left Abuja late Sunday night for medical follow-up in the United Kingdom. So that's correspondent the Musambo reports that the president, who departed Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport after receiving the Chibok girls, was seen off by Minister of the FCT, Muhammad Musa Bello, his Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari, National Advisor, Babagana Mongonu, and other senior government officials. A statement earlier released by the presidential media advisor, Femi Adesina, explains that the president stay in London will only be determined by his doctors. President Muhammadu Buhari has described the release of 82 Chibok girls after nearly 3 years in Boko Haram captivity as a pleasant second anniversary gift to the people of Nigeria. The president, who formally received the girls at his residence, reassured the nation that no efforts will be spared in ensuring that all other Nigerians who have been abducted safely regain their freedom. Sales correspondent Adam Musambo has details.
Formally presented the girls attributed the major breakthrough to the unprecedented support, direction and guidance to the nation's military by the Nigerian leader.
Your Excellency, before you now, I present the 82 Chibok girls to you, Your Excellency.
The highly elated President Buhari was full of appreciation to the security agencies and all those who contributed in securing the release of the girls.
This is a very significant day for me and for the country, and more especially to your parents for surviving the torture, as it were, waiting for you day in and day out for theirs that have passed.
The federal government, he promised, will take adequate care of their health, education, security, and general well-being.
The federal government will perform on its promises to look after you, to continue your education.
The president was emphatic that no human being should go through this kind of ordeal and therefore reaffirmed the commitment of his administration towards safeguarding the security of all Nigerians.
I am very pleased to have personally met you, and I congratulate more especially your parents. It's only they that have the real feeling of what you went through.
The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, told NTA News that the Boko Haram chapter will not be declared closed until all those in its custody regain their freedom.
For these 82 girls, we reached agreement to free some of their own captives, but the agreement goes far beyond this. What we are doing also includes negotiation to ensure that this suicide bombing also stops. So it's part of the agreement. We are looking at a comprehensive peace agreement. And don't forget that these people are largely Nigerians too, and we must learn to work together and learn to live in peace.
Over 100 Chibok girls have now regained their freedom since the renewed onslaught against Boko Haram by the Buhari administration. In the meantime, the president has granted audience to Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, presiding officers of the National Assembly, and the chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum, Governor Abdulaziz Yari Abubakar of Zamfara State, on a farewell visit as he departs for medical follow-up in the United Kingdom. From the State House, Adam Musambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the news of the release of 82 Chibok girls has been received with joy on the streets of Abuja. Correspondent Salihu Abdullahi felt the pulse on the streets.
so far for the Nigerians to have witnessed this kind of improvement made by the government on the issue of these Chibok girls and the release of the girls. It is wonderful and it's quite impressive.
And we thank God because these people that have been lost over AUI, it took only the wisdoms of God and the wisdoms of man. So we thank God for the effort of Nigeria that brought these people out. We also switch trust in the same God, that Almighty God will lead his men to fake the rest out. And I thank God for the administrations of APC.
Mother, I'm very happy to hear this news that those children are back and alive. So I'm very happy to hear the news. And I thank God for the new government we have. Because it has been long. We are hearing about this thing. We don't have the solution. Thank God the solution has come.
And we are still praying for this government. Actually, this government show that they are fighting this Boko Haram, and they are now negotiating with them to get the remaining Chibok girls. So we thank God for that, and we continue to pray for the government and for the remaining Chibok girls to release.
And I believe that we still have hope in Nigeria. At times it looks as if we don't have hope, but we have hope. So for this to happen, that means we are heading to somewhere. We thank God for that, and we pray that God should intervene.
The remaining one will be released, and we thank God for the release of the Chibok girls. And we recognize the supremacy of God who gave the security people the sense and the knowledge and the technical know-how for them to be released. And we know that God is in charge of this nation. As much as we come together in unity and pray to our Maker and we recognize supremacy, everything will work for good.
Residents of Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, have commended President Muhammadu Buhari and the military for ensuring the release of 82 more Chibok girls abducted by the Boko Haram terrorists 3 years ago. Maimuna Garba has a situation report.
The news of the release of 82 Chibok girls was greeted with a lot of happiness and commendations by residents of Maiduguri.
It's a thing of joy for all Chibokians and I believe all Nigerians. And today, 82, so that to definitely tell you that the government is really serious on the issue of release of these Chibok girls. We really thank the president, Mr. President, for that. He is keeping, he's a man of his word, he has kept his word, and really Nigerians are happy about that.
Our people have been praying for the release of these girls, and many others have been fasting and praying, and God is rewarding our efforts. I would like also to say thank you for the federal government.
They described the feat as a great determination by the present administration and commitment to securing the release of the rest of the girls, as well as ending insurgency in the northeast.
This is a very good news. It's expected, and we hope that the other girls will also be released. It is a very soothing news to all of us, Nigerians, the whole world. I hope this is the beginning of the end of the insurgency. I am highly delighted because one of the promises our President Buhari made before his election was to see that the Chibok girls are totally released. This is the second time now that the Chibok girls are being released under his tenure. So actually he is on the path of progress.
This has been our prayer for long, that God should allow this kidnapped girls should be rescued.
With the latest release of 82 girls, the number of those released has risen to over 100, apart from over 50 who earlier escaped from their captors shortly after being abducted. In Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
The issue of the Chibok girls' abduction has been in the news in the last few years and has generated divergent comments on how to get the girls back. Correspondent Abdul Malik Adio refreshes our memories with the developments so far.
Sad development not only in Chibok community in Borno State, but the entire Nigeria when the news of the abduction of more than 200 Chibok schoolgirls by the Boko Haram terrorists broke out in April 2014. 57 of the girls escaped soon after the abduction. Thereafter, efforts made to secure the release of the remaining girls were unsuccessful. With the coming of the Buhari administration in May 29, 2015, the president assured Nigerians of his administration's commitment towards the release of the remaining abducted Chibok girls. The first Chibok student to be recovered was Amina Ali Kelly and her daughter, who were found on the outskirts of Sambisa Forest in May 2016. As part of commitment to rescue all the girls, the federal government began negotiation with the Boko Haram terrorists. This negotiation paid off with the release of 21 of the abducted girls in October 2016. The release of the 21 girls was greeted with encomiums and accolades by well-meaning Nigerians within and outside the country, including the Bring Back Our Girls group. But the Buhari administration continued to reassure Nigerians of its determination to rescue all the remaining Chibok girls and other people in captivity of the Boko Haram terrorists. 7 months after the release of 21 girls, another set of 82 abducted girls were also released. In Abuja, Abdulmalik Adio, NTA News.
President of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, has commended the efforts of President Muhammadu Buhari-led federal government, security operatives and the National Red Cross on the release of 82 of the Chibok girls that were part of the group abducted by Boko Haram in 2014. In a statement signed by his special advisor on media and publicity, Yusuf Oladiyono, Saraki expressed delight at the development, saying that the prayers and well wishes of Nigerians and the global community had led to the return of more girls. He said by this feat, those that are still out there should be assured that Nigeria will not forget them, and that this government will continue to do everything within its power to bring them back home. He said by this feat, the Senate President assured that the Senate and by extension National Assembly will continue to do everything within its power to augment the efforts of the executive and our international partners in securing the release of more girls and ending the Boko Haram menace once and for all. Similarly, Speaker of the House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara has commended President Buhari for his continued dedication to the safe return of the abducted Chibok girls that culminated in the latest release of 82 schoolgirls who were abducted by Boko Haram terrorists in April 2014. In a statement by his special advisor on media and public affairs, Turaki Hassan, Dogara described development as delightful and heartening and commended the efforts of the security agencies and all others who were involved in the negotiation process. He recalled that last month, the House of Representatives adopted a motion urging the executive to expedite negotiation for the release of the schoolgirls still in captivity. He said President Buhari has further proven that he's a man of his words, as true leadership is defined not by apportioning blame, but by solving challenges irrespective of genesis, and that the president deserves all commendation for this feat. I'm now being joined in the studio by Aliyu Abdullahi of the Buhari Media Support Group to speak more on the recently released Chibok girls. It's good to have you, Aliyu, on our program.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. It's nice to be here.
Yes, let's start. Please, how would you evaluate this second batch of release of the schoolgirls?
That's fantastic news, actually coming to Nigeria, and yes. It actually went to show the commitment of this administration of President Muhammad Buhari. He has made promises even before he became president, about to secure the safe, release of the Chibok girls and even other people in captivity.
Yes.
And to date, thousands of people have been actually released from the captivity of Boko Haram's men, women, children, and the Chibok girls, who have become the symbol of all the people in captivity, who have seen 82 of them actually be released.
Yes.
And that's a serious commitment and a fulfillment of promise made by this president. And it goes to show that Nigeria has we have hope as people,
Okay.
that we can actually get things right in every sector that that this administration has promised to deliver, whether it be on the security issues, whether it be on the economy or the fight against corruption, because they are not sitting down. You know, it didn't just happen overnight.
Okay, you're saying that you have a government that you can believe and trust.
And work, a lot of work must have actually gone into this negotiation.
No doubt.
Yeah, you know, so that means all this while some people may be skeptical that maybe the government is just folding its arm or even sleeping over this issue of the Chibok girls, that actually they are wrong. The government has been working around the clock to ensure what we saw, the victory we saw. This is a victory against cowardice, against terror, and it's something worth celebrating by Nigerians and worth commending. I'm happy that we have seen commendations all over from the country, even from the international community, and I join them in commending this president.
Yes,
and,
thank you. I think, Ladiu, let me cut you there. I think the next question that will follow is to now talk about how to properly reintegrate these girls. What's your opinion about that?
Now, it's really very important that they have to be debriefed by the relevant security agencies, because these girls have spent almost 3 years.
Honestly.
So it's a totally different thing they are coming into. It's a normal, but maybe not normal to them. So there has to be some psych evaluation. The medical check has already been underway. They have been going undertaking that medical checkups.
Yes.
And you know, among them, there may be some that have they may have possibly actually, you know, buy in to the ways of life that they were subjected to there.
No doubt.
So it's not easy to really put them back with their families, with the communities where they're coming from.
Yes.
Otherwise, you risk a lot of things happening. So the government has to be sure that they are properly rehabilitated, reintegrated before they are reintegrated back to the larger society. And thank God that the federal government, in collaboration with the state government, are taking care of their welfare, their education, security, and so on. And I think that's a step in the right direction to reintegrate them to the larger society.
Interesting, yes. So how do we now justify the commitment of the federal government in making sure that remaining girls are also released?
You see, we have seen this commitment by the swap the federal government did to release some of the Boko Haram commanders, and some even went to fault the government's effort in doing that. But I say no. There is no fault in that, because I think the federal government has done wonderfully well by releasing these people, because our security agencies, they're some of the finest and best in the world. And they must have broken these commanders. They must have gotten all the intelligence they could get from these commanders. They know them. And you know, terror actually works when the people you are not known, when your identity is actually concealed. But these commanders, as they're going back to the terror camp, they are already known, their families, their ways of life are already known, and they actually may possibly be even torn as assets but for the federal government by our security agencies. So if government has gone the extra length of releasing this, you know, I think it shows a bigger commitment on the part of the federal government to ensure a further release of all the girls, other girls, and even other people that are within Boko Haram's captivity. And mind you, again, these commanders that are going back to the Boko Haram's people, number one, they don't have structure there, because their structure is greatly decimated by the Nigerian army. So even when they go back, they will have little or no effect at all to even carry out any terror attacks. In fact, to me, I see them as zero value to their agenda of terror, because what more could they do without a structure, with them being exposed? I actually see it as a huge win for the Nigerian people.
That's interesting. I think before we wrap up this discussion, let us get your overall perspectives, you know, in taking a leap into how government looks at the general welfare of Nigerians.
The administration of President Muhammad Buhari, the president himself is someone who actually believed in the interest of the masses in his heart, because he knew how he got to where he is, you know, the power. This is someone who never rode on on a platform of few people that say we want to have you in power, or a few elites that normally was the way of enthroning leaders in this country.
Yes.
But this is someone who was largely elected by the people of Nigeria, all cut across all the regions of this country. So he knew the importance. He cannot afford to let Nigerians down. So the overall welfare of the nation, of the people, is paramount. It's paramount to this president and to this administration. Yes. And we have seen how it has been delivered. We have seen an example of the release of this girl. We have seen a massive infrastructure that is going on around the country. We have seen our monies be recovered by people that have looted the treasury of this country dry. And now it's been back, and it will be channeled into proper use. It will be used to fund the budget of this country, if and when the National Assembly passes that budget.
Thank you, Mr. Aliyu, for coming on this program. That's the much we can allow because of our time.
My pleasure, anytime.
It's good having you. Thank you. Welcome. I've been speaking with Mr. Aliyu Abdullahi of the Buhari Media Support. And I think it was quite fun while the program lasted. You can watch this news live online via the NTA mobile app, which you can download on your Android device at the Google Play Store or at the Apple Store if you use devices with iOS. Well, let's now pause for some messages. Panorama returns shortly. Stay with us.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Together, no matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
Let's stop fighting each other. Let us live as one. It doesn't matter where you come from, your tribe or religion, man, woman or child. It doesn't matter who you are. Put Nigeria first.
No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
How can we develop when we're always in crisis? Families have become refugees in their country. No matter our differences, show some understanding.
No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
We're glad to know you're still watching. The federal government is strengthening its disease response mechanism to prevent outbreak of epidemics. National Center for Disease Control and Center for Lassa Fever Research and Control, Irua Teaching Hospital, Edo State, have assembled experts to brainstorm and build capacity of response personnel for Lassa fever control. Kelvin Ibonoye tells us more.
The experts and participants were drawn from the National Center for Disease Control, Abuja, the Bernard Knott Institute for Tropical Medicine, Hamburg, Germany, Harvard University Center for Tropical Medicine, and the Institute of Lassa Fever Research, Irua Specialist Teaching Hospital. The Director General, National Center for Disease Control, Dr. Chikwe Ihechukwu, said the choice of ISTH Irua for the capacity building initiative is strategic because it is one of the foremost center for diagnostic and treatment center for Lassa fever saying the federal government is working to strengthen existing facilities in the center for effective response action.
Yeah, so obviously we have a challenge with Lassa fever. We've had recurrent outbreaks over the last few years. But they've built the expertise here. They're passionate about the work they do.
It has several labs that can do the molecular diagnostics for Lassa fever, the PCR diagnostics. A lot of very well-trained people, and as it has been shown in the Ebola outbreak.
Other experts say focus should now be directed at awareness campaigns and periodic review of impact of intervention strategies, especially in prevention efforts over the years.
To build a critical mass of people who can intervene for emergency response. And as of February 2017, we are talking of about 60 states affected. So it's spreading.
The team also inspected the diagnostic laboratory facilities at the Lassa Fever Control Center in the hospital. In Irua, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
The Nigerian Navy is upscaling its technical capacity to effectively address emerging maritime security threats in the Niger Delta region. The Flag Officer commanding Naval Training Command, Rear Admiral Ifeola Muhammad, said this at the graduation of naval officers from the Naval Engineering College, Sapele, Delta State. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa has the report.
The Naval Engineering College, Sapele, Delta State, was established in 1985 in line with the federal government's local content policy. This is to boost the technical manpower of the force to effectively address pipeline vandals and other maritime security challenge.
Previously, we used to conduct most of these trainings abroad, but we have decided to be looking inwards, and now we conduct the officers application course and then the special duty officers course locally here in Nigeria.
The 24 graduating naval officers were trained in application courses, electrical and mechanical fields to enhance naval technical operations.
Rigorous yet interesting, challenging yet very fascinating.
Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Talking some sports now, University of Port Harcourt set to dominate university games as Uni Bouchard, who accused Maria Sharapova of cheating in tennis, to face each other in Madrid Open Monday. Amanzi Marcos has the report.
The University of Port Harcourt